We are live now.
Okay. So, can we begin?
Yes, sir, we can begin now. A very gracious and inclusive welcome to esteemed chief guest, Professor Sima Bawa, head of the Department of History, University of Delhi. Professor S.P. Agarwal, Director, Teaching Learning Center and Principal, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi. Dr. Umesh Jha, Convener and TIC, Department of History, Ramanujan College. Respected resource persons, my worthy colleagues from the organizing team, and the dear participants who have joined us today all across the nation. Roosevelt very rightly said, the more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. And on such a rejuvenating note, I, Nidhi Mathur, on behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, graciously welcome you all to the inauguration function of the 2-week online refresher course in History, Society and Culture in India, Changing Historical Trends and Their Challenges, organized by Teaching Learning Center and Department of History, Ramanujan College. The teaching and learning of history throws up new challenges with each passing day. This is because history is not just a single story, but a compendium or perhaps a collage of many different tales. Some have found their authors, others are yet to be written. But even as we write this introduction, several are being written. These will recover new facts and sources just as they are being derived from fresh perspectives and needs. Lately, there has been a renewed interest in the social and cultural history of India, and this has produced insightful research. Consequently, long-held assumptions and understandings have been questioned, and new light has been cast on the complexities of several unresolved issues. In addition, the feminist and environmentalist movements have gathered considerable strength, and these have compelled us to think afresh about our social and cultural history from new perspectives. In this 2-week refresher course, we invite you to focus on chosen themes from the vast social and cultural history of our country, especially on recent researches and perspectives. It goes without saying this will make the teaching and learning of history even more fascinating, topical, and useful. With this, I now request and invite Dr. Umesh Jha, Convener and TIC of Department of History, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, to welcome the guests as well as the participants. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Nidhi. A very good morning to everybody present in this inaugural session of the 2-week refresh course in history, which has been organized by the Department of History and Teaching Learning Center of the Ramanujan College. It is a great privilege for me and great satisfaction and happiness to have all of you with us. This is the first time that the Teaching and Learning Center and Department of History of Ramanujan College have organized a refresh course in history. Our Teaching and Learning Center has organized various refresher course and faculty development program in many other subjects and disciplines. But this is the first time that we are going to organize it in history. So really it is a great pleasure and happiness that I welcoming all of you, all the participants in this program today. It gives me a great pleasure and honor to have with us today Professor Sima Bawa. Professor Sima Bawa is a well-known historian, art historian, and in the University of Delhi. She is also the head of the Department of History, University of Delhi. Professor Sima Bawa has written many books and she has published her article in national and international reputed journals. Her famous book is Men and Women, Gender and Sexuality in Early Indian Art. She has lectured extensively in India and abroad on the theme of the Indian art, architecture, and ethnography. She has also the recipients of the DAAD Fellowship to read at the University of Bonn. I'm very thankful that Professor Sima Baba agreed to be a chief guest of today's event in spite of her very busy schedule. I cordially welcome you, ma'am, from the behalf of the Department of History, Ramanujan College. I also welcome Professor S.P. Agrawal, Principal of Ramanujan College and Director of the Teaching and Learning Center of Ramanujan College. Professor S.P. Agrawal's expertise is in commerce and financial management, but he has simultaneously developed his deep interest in the social sciences and humanities as well. He is a very dynamic principal who always encourage and support new and innovative ideas of the faculties. Without his encouragement and support, we are not able to organize this program. So really, I thank sir and welcome sir for this program today. I also welcome all the respected academicians, professors, associate professors in the various universities of the country who kindly agreed and given their permission to record their lectures for this refresher course. I am highly thankful for all of you for your contribution for this refresher course. I welcome all the officials and members of the Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College and the members of the History Refreshers Course Organizing Committee as well. Last but not the least, I welcome from the core of my heart to all the participants of this refresher course who belong to the different parts of the country from various universities and colleges and various research institutions. The theme of our refresher course is Society and Culture in India, Changing Historical Trends and Their Challenges. This theme has been decided after a long discussion and debate among us. And Nidhi already introduced the theme, what basically we deliberate all these themes. Nidhi already explained about that. So I think if we are able to achieve it, what we want to do through this program, we will be a great, it will be a great success of our efforts. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ramanujan College, under the stewardship of our able principal, Professor S.P. Agarwal, has conducted innumerable online faculty enrichment programs through its Teaching Learning Center under Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme of Ministry of Education, thus imparting training to more than 120,000 teachers. I now take this immense pleasure to invite Professor S.P. Agarwal, sir, Director, Teaching Learning Center and Principal, Ramanujan College, to say a few words about this refresher course. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Nidhi. Good morning to one and all present in this program. Our chief guest today, none other than our own head of the Department of History, Professor Sima Baba. All the resource persons who are with us this morning in this program, Dr. Umesh Jha, Mr. Vikas Kumar, all my colleagues, and our dear participants. Once again, I welcome you on behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, in this 2-week online refresher course basically on society and culture, which relates to the history. Friends, I will not speak much on the topic because I am not an expert in this area. But let me tell you, our endeavor to organize these programs is to connect all the faculties all over the country, together. That is one of the objectives. Now, as regards our institution, the college, Ramanujan College, most of you who belong to Delhi University knows it. Our history as such is not very long, and but we are a very old institution in terms of an evening college. But the way the things have been done in last 10 years, so this is one of the most happening and upcoming institution of Delhi University. We at present we offer about 15 honors undergraduate courses, and we concentrate into basically 3 broad areas. Mathematical sciences, because of the name of the college, in the name of a great mathematician. Another area is commerce management, and third area is where we have expertise is humanities and social sciences. We have 10 centers of advanced research. Besides teaching learning, our faculty has done wonderful job in last 5 years by publishing I think about 100 research articles in Scopus Web of Science journals. I'm not talking about peer-reviewed or other books which they have published, but this is the number which we have, in spite of the fact that it is not a science college. Another important aspect of these programs which we conduct under Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. Now, this is a mission and a vision. Vision is from great mathematician Ramanujan College, and the mission is of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, that we want to train teachers from all over the country. And this is basically the capacity building in all the disciplines and research and ICT, every aspect which we can cover in order to do effective teaching learning. When pandemic started, everybody was in a kind of situation that what to do, how to conduct the classes, how to conduct the examination, how to go ahead, with the teaching learning. But, we as teachers are great learners, and we learned the technology very fast, and immediately we started doing it. And especially in Ramanujan College, we have been training teachers on Google Classroom and other online platforms for the last 1 year. I really do not know that we were not knowing that pandemic will happen, but still we were doing it, being a mandate as a SWAYAM MOOCs platform or National Resource Center. We developed one course on, that was also on basically some part of the history was included in that. That was on ethics, environment, and human rights. So, what I'm trying to say is that we want to reach to each and every one in the country, and not only reaching, but do the effective, courses, not like what has been done by academic staff colleges, because we, delivery is one, testing is another, and then we ensure that quality is maintained, and whatever we deliver, these the participants have learned and they apply it in their own institutions. So this is the vision with which we work, and we have been very, very successful in that, because when we hear from participants, because we have a data of 150,000 teachers who have been trained, and they are joining program one after the another, not for promotions, not for their academic growth, but basically for learning something new. So that is a achievement which we have made. Another important aspect which I always talk to the teachers, that you must concentrate on 2 important parameters of teaching learning, that is communication skills, especially when we are doing online teaching. Skills has to be top class, otherwise delivery will not be effective. Another important thing is the writing skills, because writing skills are again very important, because if you want to publish, if you want to do research, if you want to encourage students to do something important, maybe writing research papers, maybe writing project reports, then writing skills are also very, very important. But all these skills can be acquired. It is not that we have learned, because we have inherent of those, but we can learn by practicing. Each time I say to the participants that after your course of 15 days is over, please practice this in your classroom, in your rooms, in your homes, or wherever it is possible. Unless until you will do that, you cannot learn these skills. Another important part which I always speak about history is such a subject which is applicable to everyone. We are all affected in day-to-day life with the history. And as a student of commerce and finance, as Umesh said, I see that we predict, everything with the help of history. So history has to go everywhere, whether it is science, commerce, humanities, any student of any area, history is extremely important. You can see our education system since independence that most of the time in schools, history used to be taught. But the only problem was that how to teach history, because we used to hate history because a lot of mugging and remembering has to be done. So that is a challenge to the teachers of history, that how you can make it very interesting so that that part is over and people start getting interest in history. Another important thing, you must have gone through new education policy national education policy 2020. If not, please go through it. We might have one session here also on national education policy, which is a reform in itself in the education. The historical perspective has given special importance there, because what we are trying in that is that at least some part of the history may be taught to each and every student who is doing whether BA, BCom, any other science courses. Some perspective has to be given of the history. Another important thing is that whenever we talk of here we are talking about society and the culture. Our country, if you all know that we have a very rich cultural heritage, and society is very, very important. Let us take an example of COVID-19. Till we thought that COVID, is a kind of a disease where people should separate, people should not talk to each other, people should not touch each other, people should remain away from somebody is infected. We were not able to control this COVID. Only way we can control is that we need to help each other. Let me give you an example. The families which helped each other were recovered, but families which tried to run away from this were not able to recover. That is the kind of thing which we need to see. And when we predict COVID-19, or when we talk of COVID-19, we always look at the history of the plague, history of swine flu. So history is extremely important. That is what I'm trying to connect. Even in medical science, we learn from the history. And another important thing is the mixing of history with the technology, because that is the key element today, because the perspective has changed. Every aspect has changed. Teaching, learning has changed. Research has changed. We need to apply technology even in the history. Now, another important aspect which I always speak is that, any subject you take, unless until you back it with data, you back it with the historical data, you back it with the actual data, you will not be able to reach anywhere. So decision making has to be based on the historical perspective as well as the data of the connected thing, whether it relates to the society, whether it relates to the culture. Even if we are looking at the society welfare, cultural welfare, we have to substantiate each and every writing with the data. So with this, once again, thank you very much. And I'm glad that most of the people who are from history in this program, because I do not know the combination, maybe from other perspectives also, but I'm sure we will try our best that you will learn some new modern things in historical perspective, and you apply it in your classroom as well as in your own institutions. And we want to connect all of you together so that you remain in touch even after that through the technology. So with this, once again, I congratulate the department for organizing this program, because I have been always after each and every department that please go ahead and organize one program during the pandemic. And there are some departments who have, because history is a very small department in this college, we are trying to expand it, with the honors course in history, but somehow, in the last few years, we could not do it. But our endeavor was 10 years ago that we should expand this department. So with this, once again, welcome to all the dignitaries, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your enlightening words. Today, we are extremely privileged to have with us Professor Sima Bawa, who is our chief guest for today's inauguration. Dr. Umesh Jha has already introduced Professor Sima Bawa. Ma'am is a professor specializing in history of South Asian art and culture at Department of History, University of Delhi. I now take this immense pleasure to invite you, ma'am, to say a few words about this refresher course. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I will begin with an apology. Apology to the organizers who had asked me so many times to record something. And because of this responsibility that I now bear, I have to leave some very important and significant academic engagements, which pains me, but is something I cannot do anything about. And I would also start with gratitude towards Professor Agarwal for saying and reiterating the centrality of history to every discipline. So this is something that more people recognize, the more professional historians will find validity in terms of their work, in terms of their approaches, in terms of, the entire historiography needs validity from other disciplines in terms of how central is it to understanding not just social sciences, what comes under the rubric of social sciences, but also pure sciences also. So I think that is something that has been underlined. The other thing that I'll really want to talk about is how we need skepticism. And this is the only way we can challenge dogmas. Skepticism in terms of all historiography and all sources. If we can actually challenge and test those for authenticity, for for the fact that they are loaded with meanings that are symbolic, are built inherent in them, and if we can actually challenge those, then there'll be a great service of all to history as a discipline and to historians also. And since all of us hopefully are probably historians, I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind. The topic, I think, is something that is very, very important for this refresher course: social and cultural history, the trends and challenges that it poses to not just history as a discipline, but also to the entire epistemology. How are we actually going to understand the social and cultural formations that have taken place over a period of time, but also how it is influencing us today. So I think it's something that I would like to congratulate the college for, the history department of the college, for choosing and working on. For the last couple of decades, at least, history has taken what is known as a cultural turn, where we are no longer talking about just land grant economies in ancient India, or we are not just talking about revenue systems. And of course, we stopped talking about kings a long time back, good kings, bad kings, etc. But we've also started focusing more on how cultural formations have actually influenced history. The events, and not just the events, but the formation of societies and regions and communities and environments, and so many other things which have come into focus of history writing because of this cultural turn. this was something that happened with annals, but it also influenced in very specific ways how Indian history writing was happening. Because obviously the kind of, and this will bring me to my next point, which is on sources, which is that anything that we do as historians is based on sources. Now, the nature of sources in Indian history, whether it is ancient, medieval, or, well, not so much, well, probably modern also, but I don't know so much about modern Indian history, so I won't focus so much on that. But the nature of sources is very different in Indian history compared to the kind of sources that we get, say, from France, for early medieval France, the kind of sources that we'll get, and I'm sure this is true of most area studies, where we have different kind of sources. Now, given that, what is it that we will want to subject our sources to? There are two aspects to this. One is that what are the sources, and what are the set of sources that social and cultural history really interrogates? The other is how do we, interrogate these? What are the historical tools and methodologies that we apply to these sources? So these are the two things that I think are very interesting for social and cultural history and history writing, because now vernacular sources, for example, are becoming very important to understanding the cultural formations, not just in terms of language or literature, but also in terms of why these vernacular sources were written and how were they written, and how do we actually apply these to read not the history of the region, but also its connections, so connected histories. And how do we read connected histories of regions through these sources? And very interestingly, now another trend that I would, I'm sure, you've got Ranjita and you've got Mayank and Devesh and so many people who must have talked at length about this. And I don't know what they've talked about, but I'm sure they would have. And that's something that I find very interesting in the kind of works that they are doing. And all the colleagues that have spoken in this have been doing. So what I really find very interesting in their work is that they go beyond caste and gender in terms of social formations. Everybody is just talking about caste and gender, but the historians of my generation and a little younger, they are going beyond just those questions to ask larger questions also, questions about human experience. Now, these human experiences can be linked to environment, and often are, and or they're linked to emotions. Now, emotions, whether in a particular time period, emotions are happiness, friendship, marriage, etc. Now, are these emotional histories to be read only within the region? Do they have more universal kind of ways in which we can read histories of emotion? Now, all this requires reading against the grain of mainstream historiography, and against the grain of what the sources are telling us. So this is a very important methodology that has, I'm sure, been used for the last 2 decades, at least, to recover, to read silences, to make visible the invisible, as Potelli had said, and to basically give talk about inequalities, and highlight inequality, social inequalities, differences, and to bring that into focus of history writing. And I think this history of inequalities is something that I think is very relevant to understanding the entire social and cultural formations. The other thing that's very interesting for me at the moment is about formal and informal sources. How the so-called ठोस इतिहास, as Professor Gyan Pandey used to teach us, कि ये ठोस है और जो नहीं है, तो वो मतलब inscriptions, prescriptive and normative texts, how numismatic material. Now, these kind of sources present us with a kind of a narrative which may not act, which may gloss over these inequalities. But it is when we read or we may need to work or read against the grain to bring out these kind of social differentiations, complexities, and inequalities. But it is when we are also looking at an alternate set of sources, or at least looking at them with a more skeptical eye, that we can recover these kind of voices which we were not able to do and are of interest to us nowadays as historians. And I think that's something that interests me. And since I'm somebody who works on visual history, at least reading something that's as obvious as conventional sculptures on temple walls, to try and read social or cultural histories into that is of interest to me. Can we read the history of servitude, for example, in these sculptures? Of course, my work is on gender, but beyond the gender, we can also look at class formations. We can also look at servitude in these kind of visuals. So I think that is something that is of great interest. And this will bring me to my second last point. You can breathe a sigh of relief that I'm just going to come to an end, is about materiality. Materiality is something that I think is again a trend in history writing, which has become very, very important. And I see this almost everywhere that I have been in recent years, is that, and if you look at international projects and the kind of work that is happening, is that beyond literary histories, there is an effort to look at the materiality of human experience, of social and cultural experience, in how do you try and link what you read in a particular text to the material culture, and how material was this experience. This is something that is increasingly being done, whether it is in the Silk Road archaeology or and Silk Road records. I think this is, or it is in Southeast Asian experience. What we are looking at is this need to understand whatever material that we have, or whatever sources that we have, through the lens of materiality. Now, materiality is, I'm sure a lot of people would have talked about this as resource people. And if ever I do get the time and the organizers forgive me, I will come and talk about it again, because this is also very close to my heart. Being a visual historian of visual history, the last that I'm going to talk about is transculturality, because when we talk about something like a historical, social, or cultural experience, the meanings of materials, of objects, changes with the way they are transmitted from one society to another over a period of time, and also over space. So this is something I find very interesting. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind when we are reading social and cultural histories. I will, because I am a cultural historian, I cannot but show you a presentation. I'm sorry, but if you would, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you just a few slides because that's what I do. You know, whether you like it or not, you will have to see this, right? Here I am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, so can I share this screen? Yeah, can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine, great. So I am this, you know, this is Saraswati. So I will, of course, begin with Saraswati and how central, you know, right from the beginning. This is a Jaina sculpture of Saraswati from Mathura Museum. It was from Kankali Tila. It's now in Lucknow Museum. But basically, you see the pothi or the pustak in her hand. So that means that epistemology, you know, this kind of preservation of knowledge was very, very important to historical culture, and also, you know, right from the 5th century CE, we have the Brihad Devta by Shaunak. Now, the Brihad Devta by Shaunak was written because he felt that there was a certain kind of cultural amnesia that was happening. People were forgetting Vedic gods. So he wrote these small little, you know, I call it a Kunji of the Vedas, right? Because it's like a little digest where he has, you know, given very small descriptions of each god. What is the hymn? What is the sukta? What are the main characteristics? So it's the first objective concern with iconography, but it's also the first objective concern with what I, you know, kind of a cultural amnesia that he feared was happening. So knowledge and the lack of it or the forgetting of it as was very important to Indians, whether it was historical knowledge, religious knowledge, ritual knowledge. But that was something that I feel was quite important. I will not go into this. You know, we keep saying that we have no records, but this is, these are the Mool Sarvastivadin scriptures that have been dated to 1st century CE. They are in the Gandhari language, but and Kharoshthi script. But can you imagine that we have these palm leaf manuscripts which are materially available to us? Some of these are now in Munshen and some are in the Cambridge libraries, but they're available to us. So there is this kind of a tradition of transmission of knowledge. And we do know who were reading these. These were being read by monastic communities, and these were traveling with monks, not just towards East India, towards Mathura and so on and so forth, but Nalanda, but they were also traveling towards Central Asia, and you have nodes of exchange from in which this cultural knowledge was being carried. So what they started, this is something that's a tradition that continues, right? This continues, and this is from Kashmir, and this is written on Bhojpatra. Bhojpatra was something that's usually used only in North India because it's a very fragile, so material, you know, really what material is being used where, it also depends on the region, you know, so the material is important there. Okay, I'm just going to, these are palm leaf, because, you know, in East India, you find these palm leaf manuscripts, and these are, as you can see, when we read, you know, a cultural artifact, the first thing that we realize is that text is a visual. First thing you have to see is that आपको ये नहीं समझ में आता ये लिखा क्या है, पर आपको पता है कुछ तो लिखा है, आप देख सकते हैं कि इसमें क्या क्या लिखा है. तो पहले वो एक इमेज है, हाँ, और क्योंकि वो कुछ लिखा है तो कुछ अच्छा ही लिखा होगा, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट ही लिखा होगा, कि बकवास नहीं लिखी होगी, hopefully. So the fact that the written word as well as the visual artifact, both of these carry some amount of value, value as cultural artifacts. I'm just going to go into two more things which will show you better as to what I'm talking about. And then I will finish. And this is in Tamil Nadu, how manuscripts are stored even today. So I think that is what we should be looking at. We should be also looking at these kind of repositories, which have a great deal of cultural and cultural kind of knowledge systems that they tell us about in terms of generational transmission, as well as what they contain. Very often they seem just ritual or religious, but do contain a lot of other ways of looking at it, right? So that's what I'm going to say just now. My time is over, and I'm sure you must be very tired of me by now. So back to Umesh.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. We are not tired, but it's very, very interesting. And I think your lecture was highly intellectual, and it's your program. You can come in any time, and when it can fascinate me, I'm sure historians will definitely like to listen to you. So whenever you have time, you tell us, we will have a special lecture from you, because you have touched each and every aspect of the theme of the program, which is culture, and you have specialization in culture and gender, and the kind of things you have shown. Actually, this is the way history should be taught, to my mind, because I'm not a historian. So that's always my expectation from the history, that they should make it more and more interesting for the young minds, so that they develop an interest. And another important thing is that we should not confine to the borders. We should believe in interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, and transculturality, which you have shown. So that is also very, very important when we talk of any university, college. Sometimes we work in a very exclusive environment. Let's stop that, and we should interact with other people. So thank you very much, ma'am. And I'm sure Umesh will look into this, that he should have a special lecture from you. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sima. एक्चुअली हम तो बहुत ही कीन हैं, सीमा। हमेशा
मुझे पता है,
मैंने कई बार कहा है शिशिर को कि मैम को पकड़ लो, उनसे रिकॉर्ड करवाओ। तो प्लीज व्हेनेवर यू फील, मतलब
I will.
जब आप समय देना चाहो इस रिफ्रेशर कोर्स में, ऑलवेज यू आर वेलकम। और बाद में भी, मतलब हमेशा सर ने कहा ही है, और डिपार्टमेंट में तो मुझे तो हमेशा लगता है कि चूंकि हम लोगों ने एक समय साथ जो है आर्ट फैकल्टी में बिताया, और वो सारी चीजें तीन मूर्ति में आर्ट फैकल्टी में, तो इसलिए मुझे हमेशा लगता है कि आपका हमेशा स्वागत है। तो whenever you have time, please. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Moving ahead to the next segment of the inauguration, there are certain rules that need to be carefully adhered to by each participant of this refresher course. The first of the rule is registration is mandatory for everyone on the portal. The registration steps as well as the enrollment have been shared on the Telegram group. Next point, attempting and submitting all the quizzes and assignments are mandatory, and each participant must secure a minimum of 50% in total to avail the program completion certificate. Third rule, graded certificates on the basis of performance will be awarded to all the participants. Rule 4, as part of the Ministry of Education's requirement under the PMMM NMTT scheme, all participants need to submit online feedback for each session. And last but not the least, as the refresher course is being organized under the prestigious Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme, we at Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, give prime importance to willing and serious participants who are eager to learn. In this context, it should be noted that e-certificates will be awarded to only those participants who fulfill the above criteria. Moving ahead to the last segment of the inauguration, I now request Mr. Vikas Kumar, Program Co-Convener and Assistant Professor, Department of History, Ramanujan College, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Vikas.
Thank you, Ms. Nidhi. Very good morning to all of you. It is an honor to have been asked to offer a vote of thanks on the occasion of this 2-week refreshers course in history. On behalf of my college and the entire management group, here I am very heartily grateful to all the audience who have joined this inaugural session with us today. I extend my heartiest gratitude to the honorable and respected chief guest, Professor Sima Bawa, Head Department of History, University of Delhi, who has been able to make to this inaugural session despite her very busy schedule as the head of the institution. We are also very grateful to have listened the words of wisdom on her part. It is fascinating to hear that how she has emphasized upon the use of sources in history and the categorization of historical tools and methodology. She has talked about the history of emotions and their tracing in diverse areas. She has also shown the importance of imagery in tracing out history in a very quick succession. We are very thankful to her. We are very thankful to our principal and director of TLC, Professor S.P. Agarwal, who has always encouraged us to do better and conduct these kind of programs, even though we have not been that big a department. We are also very pleased to know his understanding of history and contribution of history in today's scenario. It has also been our honor to host all the resource persons without whom it would not have been possible to conduct this kind of program on this large scale. I also impart my gratefulness to all the resource persons for very diverse sub-themes, imparting a vast phenomena of history towards us. Our resource persons are namely Professor Jaya Tyagi, Professor R. Mahalakshmi, Professor B.P. Sahu, Professor Ranjita Datta, Professor Devesh Vijay, Professor Charu Gupta, Professor Rajuddin Akil, Professor Mayank Kumar, Professor Anil Sethi, Professor Rajuddin Akil, Professor Suchita Mahajan, Professor Ravikant. I say thanks to all. I also say thanks to all the entire team of TLC, Director Dr. S.P. Agarwal, Assistant Director Dr. Nikhil Rajput, Dr. Sumit Nagpal, and I'm very pleased to thank to our Department of History and the members of Department of History who have worked tirelessly all these days. Head and Convener Dr. Umesh Jha, Mr. Abhijit Singh, Mr. Gulshan, for their immense contribution in all the preparation behind the curtain. Our technical head, Vipin Rathi, co-coordinator, Ms. Nidhi Mathur, and Anil Ji from Media Lab. I say thank to all of them who have worked tirelessly from behind the curtain, and this program could have taken place. Last but not the least, I am very grateful to all the participants who have joined this course. I hope they will find it useful and they will be stimulated by the knowledge that will be imparted here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas. So with this, we come to the successful conclusion of the inauguration session for the 2-week online refresher course, History. As I have posted in the Telegram group, content for today, that is day 1, will be posted shortly from now, and you will be informed in the Telegram group. So now we meet all of you in the valedictory session. So till then, please work on your assignments and quizzes. And thank you so much for being here with all of us. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vikas.
So this is live. We should sign off from here. Then we can talk about it later.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is live as of now.
Yes,
I am
yes.
just I'm just speaking to Ravi sir. He will just stop the live chat. Yeah.
सर आई थिंक हमें MS Teams से मिलना चाहिए या फिर ये तो
ठीक है, so then we
Wait,
leave
wait,
it
wait.
and we meet on the
Yes, sir.
MS Teams पे मिल लेते हैं सर एक बार, अगर आप कहें तो मैं
अब on है
संस्कृति वाले
विकास।
ग्रुप से।
ठीक है, चलिए मैं यहाँ से लीव करता हूँ।
हाँ, यहाँ से लीव।
जी
म्यूट से गूगल मीट से ये सेंड कर।